Now let's resume our program in a plenary format. I invite the moderators or designated panelists of the 3 parallel panels on stage. They will provide us with a summary of the discussions held in their respective panel. Let me stress that they will speak in their capacity as a briefers of the panel they attended and not as representatives of their organization or the state. We will have also a couple of interventions from the floor at the end of the reporting back. So allow me to welcome His Excellency Mr. Haoliang Xu, Under-Secretary General and Associate Administrator of United Nations Development Programme. Yes, please. Welcome to Lausanne. Please take a seat. Thank you. And I also welcome Her Excellency Dr. Melita Gabric, State Secretary for Multilateral Affairs, Economic Diplomacy and Development Cooperation of Slovenia. Welcome. And last but not least, His Excellency Mr. Eivind Vatt Pettersson, State Secretary to the Minister for Civil Defense of Norway. Welcome. I would like to start with you, His Excellency Mr. Eivind Vatt Pettersson. You moderated the 3rd panel on progress, innovative financial mechanism, ensuring a sustainable future for mine action. I would like to ask you if you could kindly present a brief summary of your panel's discussions and key points.
No, thank you very much for that. We started by setting out the needs to look at funding mine action differently, and the business case or the investment case in mine action. And the needs are clear. Traditional funding streams are insufficient to address the $34.6 billion funding need for mine action in Ukraine. And we're not just saving lives and livelihoods, but we're also investing in economic recovery as well. And donors, partners, have limited resources, and we need to find ways to engage the private sector and the IFIs and make use of a range of financial tools, learning from other sectors, such as health and the environment. And the panelists discussed 3 main types of financing mechanisms that are being assessed in Ukraine, following a range of studies into the topic. And these 3 are very briefly a front-loading facility that could be global and benefit Ukraine as well as other mine-affected countries. Secondly, a bond linking demining to agriculture and enhancing sustainability. And thirdly, an outcome-based public-private partnership that could fund the development of solar farms on demined land that may not be appropriate for agriculture. We heard in detail also about the front-loading mechanism pioneered by the IFIM for vaccine delivery and how it uses long-term donor commitments to issue bonds and accelerate funding that is stable and predictable, and how this has leveraged billions of dollars and also reduced the costs of immunization significantly. I can go on because we went into the challenges and opportunities and lessons learned. Sometimes understanding complex financial mechanisms that are unusual to the mine action sector can be challenging, but there was a will from donors and other speakers in the room to support Ukraine and the broader sector to engage with it. And once you see it, you get it, it was said. We agreed that the narrative for the mine action investment case is strong. We now need to have more confidence and perhaps change the language around it. For example, calling it maybe investment rather than projects. We don't need very many new studies. The studies, such as the one launched by the UNDP and several others, will not just be put in the cupboard, they should be and will be used. We had some useful insights from the development impact bond being implemented in Cambodia, currently by Apopo and Cordaid and funded by the UK, that shows investors are interested and innovative approaches such as this can actually work. And on front-loading, we understand the importance of political leadership and political will to invest in it. But it can also be a way for donors to fund mine action from different resources. For example, solidarity tax on airline tickets, as France does for immunization funding. And finally, to wrap up on actions and next steps, there was a commitment from the donors on the panel to form a technical working group to explore the feasibility of a front-loading model and the details of how it could work for MineAction and challenge the donors to support this. There was a call to action for others to support Ukraine in what it needs from its partners and support a full range of innovative financing mechanisms. And there was a challenge, finally, to donors in MineAction to be less risk-averse and more willing to try something new as well. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Your Excellency, thank you. Dr. Melita Gabric, you moderated the panel on people, ensuring safety and protection of civilians through humanitarian demining. So could you also please briefly summarize the discussion you had in your panel and the key points discussed?
Certainly. First of all, I would like to make a step backwards and make a point that was also made during our panel, which is that the reason we are discussing the humanitarian demining in Ukraine and that we saw all these disturbing, highly disturbing and moving videos, testimonials of the effects of this terrible war is the Russian aggression against Ukraine and the Ukrainian people. Our participants on the panel emphasized that we have to keep our focus and sustain our support, including in terms of financing for demining, and for the assistance to victims of explosive in the long run. In other words, we are in the support for Ukraine, for the support for the demining, and for the assistance of victims of explosive in the long run, meaning we are in a marathon and not in a sprint. So this is one aspect that was very much emphasized, the sustainability of our support. Our discussion also centered on the urgent need for continued and enhanced efforts in humanitarian demining to ensure the safety of civilians, particularly in conflict-affected areas. Key themes that emerge around prevention and risk education, victim assistance and rehabilitation, and the role of international support and international partnerships. The participants emphasized the critical importance of mine risk education, particularly for vulnerable groups such as our children and adolescents. Tailored educational programs have proven essential in mitigating the risks with focused efforts on young men and boys, as they are disproportionately exposed to risks of this kind. Victim assistance and rehabilitation were also central to our discussion. Physical and psychological rehabilitation of injuries are essential for the reintegration, both social and economic, of survivors. Comprehensive programs and development of innovations in medical rehabilitation, including prosthetics and reconstructive surgery, are critical components for helping victims regain independence and fully reintegrate into society. Age and gender considerations were also stressed as critical challenges and opportunities for mine action in Ukraine. Participants also noted the need to design mine risk education and assistance programs that take into account the unique vulnerabilities of different age groups and genders. The panel finally stressed the international cooperation remains vital for the success of these efforts. Donor countries, including the European Union, through the OSCE, Germany, Slovenia, Sweden, and Switzerland, reiterated their commitment to supporting Ukraine's demining efforts. Sweden, for example, has significantly increased its support, both financially and through capacity building initiatives, including training local explosive ordnance disposal units. Germany announced additional funding for victims assistance programs. Slovenia focuses already on psychological rehabilitation and trains the trainers to help children cope with the consequences of the war, including through the ITF, Enhancing Human Security Organization, while Switzerland continues financial support and facilitation of coordination among international partners. So this is in a nutshell what we discussed in the panel that focused on people in the demining efforts. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Now thank you. Now let me turn to His Excellency Mr. Haoliang Shu, who moderated the panel on partners, the importance of partnerships and exchange of know-how. Could you please also summarize the discussion you had in your panel?
So thank you very much. Two corrections, important corrections. I'm very privileged to be called His Excellency, but as a civil servant, we should never be called His Excellency. So, I'm simply a UN civil servant, so very important. And secondly, I was a participant in the panel. Our panel was moderated by the Foreign Minister of Bosnia and Herzegovina, but I was asked to speak on behalf of the group, so I'm very happy and privileged. Thank you very much. Okay. Now that we get the corrections out of the way. Our discussion focused on this very important issue of partnership. Right? How do we shift from a donor-recipient relationship to a partnership relationship? The panel feels very strongly that Ukraine has already set an example and is already showcasing a real partnership relationship, right? Partner relationship in mine action. And it was never a donor-recipient relationship. And Ukraine, is an example how this partnership, is already in place and can serve as a role model, right, for other landmine countries. And this conference is a good example of how the mine action sector is moving towards a real partnership model. So this is a very strong point that we felt. And secondly, we feel that Ukraine is demonstrating a strong national ownership, which is necessary to achieve an effective partner-partner relationship. The development of a national mine action strategy is a good example and a good demonstration of this national ownership. And thirdly, we feel that innovative financing instruments, right, is an important step towards a partner-partner approach where private sector partnership is also important. Right? And fourthly, the extreme scope of the Ukraine landmine challenge is a challenge for the whole world due to the significance of Ukraine's grain export. Right? So this also opens up opportunities for what I mentioned earlier, public-private partnerships, such as innovative financing schemes. Right? So the challenge of Ukraine is the challenge of the world. And then, fifth, the norms, standards play an important part in this partner-partner relationship. Right? And one example is that we needed to have strong legal and institutional frameworks in place. And for example, innovative financing, innovations in general, cannot work if this framework is not in place. And lastly, a couple of recommendations, in a way, from the group to improve the partnership. One is that one point is on diversity and inclusion. Right? And there's a feeling that gender balance, in mine action is still an area for improvement, because demining is still perceived as masculine lines of work. Right? So, see, this is one comment that the panel made. And then the other point that was made, a recommendation, is to strike a balance of prioritization for landmine clearance, which must balance between the humanitarian needs, right, to support the most vulnerable. So how do we prioritize the needs of most vulnerables, and to prioritize the release of land, right, to achieve the economic, meet the economic needs of development. Right? So you need to strike the balance between these different dimensions. And also, we didn't touch on this very strongly, but the important point of consideration of the environmental impact of the landmine problem, right? So these are some of the points that were made. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Last question, maybe we have a couple of minutes. If you could please tell us about specific challenges or opportunities that you have identified, lessons learned, next steps, or any other particular points you would like to highlight.
Well, I must admit that I was so eager to tell you everything in the first round.
Already done it.
But let me, just in terms of innovative funding and very specific outcomes, just to reiterate that there's a commitment from donors, at least on the panel and in our discussion, to now form a technical working group to explore the feasibility of a front-loading model and the details for how that could actually work for mine action. Especially, of course, with Ukraine as the case. That's something specific that we should be able to, when many of us meet in Japan again next year, which have made real progress on.
Thank you very much.
One very specific.
Thank you.
Yes, thank you. So some of the challenges and opportunities were already also mentioned by my excellent colleagues on the left and on the right. I would just add that coordination and prioritization is certainly something that we see and the panel saw as the area where we need more cooperation. Effective coordination refers to coordination between international donors, local authorities, and NGOs. On the other hand, on capacity building, we are talking about increasing capacity of local actors. This was very much emphasized, so that they develop this capability for conducting the mining operations. These initiatives also need to focus on providing financial support to local organizations, as well as wider capacity building efforts need to be performed by different international partners. Here I would also mention that specifically we were discussing the role of women, peace and security agenda, something that was seen by the panelists as contributing substantially, specifically potentially to the demining efforts, humanitarian demining, but also to the wider, let's say, peace building efforts. Then the third area that was discussed in terms of challenges was victim assistance. A significant challenge that was identified is providing comprehensive assistance and access to services to landmine survivors. Unfortunately, many survivors suffer from life-altering injuries that require long-term physical and psychological support. To end with opportunities. Opportunities for innovation exist, and the Ukrainian organization showcased the opportunity to integrate cutting-edge medical technologies in rehabilitation efforts, with international collaboration being essential to scale these innovations. Looking forward, again, coordination among local and international actors, improving prioritization mechanisms for the mining areas, and scaling up rehabilitation programs will be crucial. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, so very quickly to add 2 points. One is that we needed to maintain the medium to long-term commitment. Right? The government has a 10-year plan, so we needed to move steadily towards the goals of the 10-year plan. Right? So we needed to maintain that commitment over this period of time. The second one is to really work together to strengthen national leadership and ownership through effective coordination of different actors, so that we can work in unison to achieve this. To turn this crisis into an opportunity for reconstruction and the development. Thank you.
Excellencies, thank you very much indeed for your contributions, for this very interesting insight in your discussions in the panels. Thank you very much. You can return to your seats. Thank you. And now, before we proceed, we have a few interventions from the floor, starting with Her Excellency, Ms. Donika Gorvala-Schwarz, Deputy Prime Minister and Minister of Foreign Affairs and Diaspora of Kosovo.
Thank you very much for the opportunity to address this audience. Coming from the Republic of Kosovo, representing not only the youngest country in Europe, but a country that knows exactly what Ukraine is going through, because only 25 years ago, we have been there. We know exactly what it takes for the international community to stop a genocidal war, and how strong the international community is when the decision is there to do that really. So, talking about demining is so important, because even 25 years after the war, we still have in Kosovo more than 60 zones, mostly along the border with Albania and North Macedonia, that still need to be demined till 2030. But using our expertise, using our experience, not only in technical demining, but in dealing with the survivors, in dealing with the families, in being used to tell our children that what is the most beautiful color in nature, that is the color green, means for generations and generations in Kosovo danger, because green means mines can be there. So don't leave the path, don't go to green fields, because then your life can be in danger. So very important what we are doing here, and thank you very much, Ignacio, for organizing this conference together with Ukraine. But more important is to be aware of the fact that even if this war would stop today, we all together need to deal with the survivors, the victims, and reconstruction of Ukraine. But the war is not going to stop today. And that is why we need to understand as international community that we fail every day, from day to day, as long as this war continues. That is why, while we are working on demining, while we are helping survivors and victims, we need to be more united and having a stronger voice and really helping Ukraine to stop, to end this war. And this war can have only one positive end. It is Russia losing this war and Ukraine winning this war. This is the only recipe how Putin will not start attacking other neighbors or other regions in Thank you very much.
Thank you, Your Excellency. And now, representing France, Ambassador Marek takes the floor. Please, Your Excellency.
Thank you. I want first to address warm thanks to the authorities of Switzerland for their warm welcome of the perfect organization of this meeting, with panels such constructive, where donors like us can find ideas for the way to help Ukraine. Today, my minister has gathered in Paris to a meeting on the nuclear security of Ukraine. And it's important that there are such mobilization, that we maintain a high level of political mobilization to help Ukraine. Helping Ukraine is our duty for the civilians of Ukraine after the Russian aggression. It's a duty for the food security in the world because of the importance of the agricultural sector in Ukraine. It's our duty too for the sake of this important instrument, the Ottawa Convention, which was the most important treaty of humanitarian law. I have to say that, to tell the truth, that 1 year ago there were in the international community and among donors some doubts about the capacity of Ukraine to face such a huge challenge, taking into account the great number of stakeholders in Ukraine, the stakeholders all in the world. It's fair to say that today all these doubts are behind us. Because we have great admiration for the way Ukraine, Mrs. Sviridenko and her team has organized the national strategy of Ukraine and the coordination, especially with the SWG group in Ukraine. And I think that now all us donors are ready to help Ukraine and to support this country, and my country will continue to do so. Thank you.
Thank you very much. We still have an intervention from Latvia with His Excellency Ambassador Pundurus.
Thank you very much. First of all, I also would like to thank organizers, our hosts, and our Ukrainian friends for organizing this brilliant event. We need this to refocus our attention and to redouble our efforts. Also, Latvia is trying to do its part, and next week we organize the 3rd Crimea International Parliamentary Platform Summit in Riga. Now, assisting Ukraine is a national priority of Latvia. We have pledged 0.25% of our GDP to the military assistance to Ukraine. But also we do our part in civilian assistance, and just this week our government adopted a civilian assistance package which contains, among other things, €250,000 for humanitarian demining. So I hope that that will be put to due use. Also, I want to refer to some of previous speakers, and I fully agree that demining efforts have to be carried as the war goes on, without waiting for its end. But they cannot be ultimately successful if that war is not ended, because mines are being laid into Ukrainian soil as we speak here. So let me join the previous speaker also in reminding ourselves that for this to be successful, we have to multiply our efforts in assisting Ukraine so that it can prevail in this war. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Excellencies, thank you very much for your interventions, for your contributions. Thank you very much. And also thank you to our trio who is about to perform for us.
Поки зорі чом Ще наша свічка не згоріла, ще наша молодість при нас, а те, чи варте наше діло, то скажуть люди, скаже час. Україно, Україно, пісня далечінь доріг, вірне серце Твого Сина, я кладу Тобі до ніг. Україно, Україно, пісня далечінь доріг, вірне серце Твого Сина, я кладу Тобі до ніг. Україно, Україно, пісня далечінь доріг, вірне серце Твого Сина, я кладу Тобі до ніг, Тобі до ніг. I wonder, as I wonder, how thunder the sky, how Jesus our Savior did come for to die, for poor only people like you and like I wonder, as I wonder, how thunder the sky, when Mary bare Jesus to us in a cow stall, with wise men and farmers and shepherds and all. But high from the heavens a starlight did fall, the promise of ages it then did recall. If Jesus had wanted of any within, a star in the sky or a bird on the wing, or all of God's angels in heavens for to see, he surely could have had it, 'cause he was the king.
Thank you to our musicians who especially met for this conference and especially found this repertoire. It's a perfect mix. Thank you very much indeed.